Excellent. Thank you. And let's segue. That's a great segue into what I was gonna talk about. So I'd like you to share the results of the couple of times that you were of a couple of those asks. So go ahead, because the one from was it yesterday? Anyway, the one with well, go ahead.
Well, so I so I have Pilates and physical therapy on Thursdays, and it's at the same place. And so I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna practice on these guys because like they're my friends and I can be goofy and whatever. And so for the first guy, I was like, hey, I need to be asking for more referrals. You know me really well. So I want to say it's like if you know of anybody who's thinking about buying a house or selling or refinancing or whatever in the next couple of months, I hope you trust me enough that you would give me their information. And she goes, you know what, actually I do know somebody who's a friend of a friend moving here from California. And then I was like, oh, okay, cool. And then we started talking about, she used to be a teacher, and we started talking about homebuyer education and stuff. And it turned into a conversation around some recommendations she had. Like, teachers are really near and dear to my heart. And so I do a lot for them. And she's like, here's what you should do. So she gave me like a whole idea of how to like present options to teachers. And then she asked me, she's like, would you be interested in teaching a class about money to fifth graders? I'm like, yes. So she's going to help me write a curriculum around just a class to teach them, and she'll get me into her kids' school, and then hopefully that'll turn into something. And so I left that appointment and went right into my physical therapy appointment, and I did the same thing. And she actually gave me a lead last week, but she started talking about how she needs to start marketing herself more and getting more referrals. And I said, well, so she does a lot of physical therapy for women who are pregnant or postpartum, just because of all the difficulties of just the taxiness of being pregnant and what that does to your body, and then carrying around babies all the time and breastfeeding and back pain and all that crap. And I was like, well, what if I do a class for all of my clients that are moms? Because I have a ton of clients who've had babies in the last 3 years, and get you in front of them. And she's like, that would be amazing. So I'm going to do like a workshop basically for moms with her that just talks about like how to hold your baby and not have back pain. So that'll turn into some stuff too.
What's funny is just in the offhand, the one I wanted to the one thing that I wanted you to what I was laughing about was when you said to the physical therapist, let me practice on you if you know of anybody. And she said, actually, and her response was, actually, I do know somebody who's moving here from California. That's the stupidity of how that would happen, because they do know somebody. They're not referring you because they don't want to refer you. It's because they're not thinking you need a referral. And even if they know somebody, it's because we're not saying it. It's so thank you for sharing that. And I hope that encourages others to lose the fear, because I know that's what this is. I had 2 conversations this week because it was my fear. I didn't ask. So I want to make sure that I'm not saying like I asked all the time. No, I didn't. And I know why I didn't. It was because I was afraid of the same thing you're afraid of, which is I didn't want to potentially hear no, or get like not a really positive response. I had 2 conversations this week, one with Amir Syed, the Go coach, and then one with Tim Brahim. And I was telling him what we were doing on this, and they're both like, man, you're so right. No one asks. And I said, like, going, did you ask? Tim Brahim goes, nope, never. I was like, you didn't ask? And he goes, no, I never asked. I go, why not? He goes, because I didn't want to hear no. He was like, no hesitation. And I just thought that was really funny. Like, it's a universal fear that we think we haven't earned it or whatever it is. And we've got to figure out a way to get over that. And same thing when I was talking to Amir Syed, he goes, yeah, you're right. Because in my mind, if you've been doing this long enough, Giuseppe shared some numbers, and he's been doing this for 23 years now. I'm originating for about 20 of them, or full time. And when you've got that big of a past client database, yeah, 50% of your business, if you stay in touch, if you're really smart and you do good work, and you're relevant and you connect consistently. And I'll tell you how I know this works for you, Giuseppe. I had a call with Mike Smith yesterday, the real estate attorney that we've used in the past. And Mike, because I'm talking to somebody about subleasing this back office space that we added to the DTC office. And he goes, how are you guys doing? You know what? You guys do a really good job. Just so you know, Giuseppe's doing a really good job with my daughter, staying in touch with her. She thinks he's wonderful, and she knows that she's going to refinance that loan when the rates get better. And so that's the power of obviously staying in touch with your database. Um, uh, I think that the opportunity, people like, if you know, again, you got a 5-star review, people stay in touch with you, they like you, they'd refer you. It's asking. I like the way Jacqueline did it, because it was like, hey, we're doing this thing at work and I need to start asking your clients for referrals. So I want to practice on you. And because she goes like, okay, practice on me. Because the girl goes, I need to do it too. And so, because she's a physical therapist and she needs to ask clients for referrals, and she doesn't want to do it, right? I think it's this universal thing. It's really funny. And so I came up with a script that I think would work really well. I'm pretty sure it would work really well. Somebody's going to have to try it out after you get a 5-star review, because I think that's the perfect opportunity to pick up the phone. At some point, you get a 5-star review from somebody. You don't have to pick it up right away, but sometime in the next, I don't know, 5 business days, so a week, within a week of getting that review, calling your customer to thank them for the review about how important it is. So I would call and just say, hey, thanks a lot I really appreciate that review. It means everything to me. And I'd like to ask you a favor. And I would wait for them to respond to that. I'd like to ask you a favor. And then the favor's like going, it's just this, is that, not everybody has the same kind of borrowing experiences you just had. And we hear about them all the time. And in fact, we have a program where, we market trauma center loans. If other real estate agents are having a deal crash, if a lender promised, because it happens all the time, a lender promises a borrower they're going to get a loan and they can't get it, and they have risk of losing their earnest money. Or we hear about customers paying far too much when you see those low advertised bait interest rates that cost 3 and 4 points. Customers end up paying that. And it's crazy. If they knew how it worked, the way we educate our customers, like, that's not what you did, because it's not worth it. And then, or at the best case scenario, they do a loan with somebody and they're getting a fair price, but it closes ugly. It's late, last minute, the closing date moves. If you hear of anybody that's getting, so I don't want that to happen to anybody. If you hear of anybody moving in the next, that's thinking about buying, selling, or refinancing in the next 2 or 3 months, would you please give them my name? I'd really appreciate it. And they're going to say, of course I will. And then you're probably going to get a response like Jacqueline half the time. We're like, actually, you do know somebody who's getting ready to move. Because when somebody's moving, they talk about it. And then their friends go, yeah, we're going to move too. Right? We're going to start looking in the spring. John was, when John first moved here, I remember you talking about this, and I thought it was really interesting that you're in your mind, everybody likes to talk about real estate because it's such a big part of people's lives. And when John used to go on these, when he would art walks and bicycle brews and bikes, whatever bike, when you first started, you were just out meeting people. That's what you would do. You would just ask people what they did for a living, and then they'd ask you what you did for a living. And then there you go. Now you're having a conversation about mortgages and real estate. And so, it's first of all, I found it was very interesting that 2 really high producing former coach or current coaches, but Amir still produces, Tim doesn't. Like, yeah, you're right. We don't do it. I never asked. And I'm like, he goes, you're right. And it would be a pillar of your business. It would become a very substantial part of your business. And so I've got some information that I'm going to share. I'm not ready to share it today. I alluded to it on the call, trying to get referrals from your current pipeline while they're in process, coming up with some scripting and some opportunities for that as well. And then I'll write up that script that I just did, because I know it was pretty choppy and rough. I haven't typed it up. But I think that when you ask that question, reminding people, not everybody has an experience like the one you just had. And they might even chime in at that point, like, oh man, I know somebody who got a loan and they had to move their closing date. They had a moving truck. They had to reschedule everything, because that shit happens all the time, guys. Closing on time every time is not normally a thing. I spent the first 7 years of my career negotiating closing dates after they had come due. So my first 2.5 years, like almost every time. And then the first couple of years, I guess not 7 years, the first couple of years doing this, I didn't do it all the time, but yeah, it was hard to get a loan closed on time because I didn't know how to do it. So a lot of companies don't. Does anybody have anything they want to add, anything they want to share about that subject? No. Did anybody do any asking this week besides Jacqueline bringing that up? Did it come up?
I got my first review from Bird Eye, and which is kind of surprising because she closed like 2 weeks late because it was a Huntington refinance. But she was thrilled and she thought everything was just amazing. So goes to show you we have high standards. But I just rebuilt that email that I think Ryan had mentioned that I was doing that I got from Jeremy Forsey. I did it into a video. And so now when the review comes in,
It's a video.
yeah, I send that up.
You want to share it?
The video? Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
right now, but send it out.
Is it
Sure.
like a canned video that you put in a signature, or do you do
Yeah.
you say thanks, Heather? What do you mean? If I have to do something more than once, it's always signature.
And then Jacqueline reminded me on the, I think she's doing like a paper newsletter and New Year's Day card too. So I got a client that called yesterday that I did a loan for in 2013. And somehow he ended up on my list, even though my paper newsletter, I only went back to 2019 closings when I built that list. But he's like, oh yeah, and he's refinanced twice with his bank, but I guess, when rates were really low, which is why I haven't done a loan from him in 10 years. But he reached out, he's like, oh yeah, I still get your stuff. And, it just wasn't very good. The last couple of times we did it, they made us seem like it was going to be super easy because we worked with them and we banked with them, but it wasn't. And so we're going to do a cash out refi for them at some point here. So yeah,
Nice.
Stay in touch.
Stay in touch for sure. Right on. All right. Anybody else? Cool. All right. Let's have a great Friday, everybody. And thanks for jumping on the call today. I appreciate everybody participating. This is part of what I'm talking about with the recruits, is getting everybody engaged and embrace this culture, because you're part of it and you make the culture and it's your company. So I appreciate everybody sharing, being willing to do that. That's a big deal. So come here ready to learn and ready to share. I appreciate it. Thanks, guys. Have a great day.